housekeeping rules, as well as some reminders. So we would take on the session, after which we would take on the questions. And so I will enjoin everyone as you listen out. You can type in your questions in the chat box, and then we'll pick up your questions from there. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my voice today, but we'll get through this together. So thank you all for coming, and thank you all for joining us on this webinar. So I'll just do a quick sharing of my screen. Please a thumbs up if you can see it in the chat, or a yes in the chat box if you can see my screen. Okay, so while we wait for others to join us, we'll just go through a little icebreaker just to set things going. And we'd like for you to share in the chat box what's one thing you're grateful for today, no matter how small or big. So just share with us in the chat box. Keep it coming. Just one thing you're grateful for today. Grateful for exposure. I see that. I'm grateful for life, for good health. Wonderful. Grateful for life, grateful for life. I can see a lot of people are so grateful that they have life that we can be part of today. Thank you all for, I'm grateful for my relationship with God. Thank you. Thank you. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Grateful for life. I see a lot of that. Grateful for life, for God's grace. Amazing. I'm grateful for the gift of family. Amazing. Grateful for God's mercy, peace of mind. Absolutely, peace of mind. All right, thank you all for your contribution. And so we'll quickly move on to the program of today. And before we call in our facilitator today, my name is Perita Kimeng, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. And before we start off today's program, I'd like to do a quick introduction of our facilitator for today. And of course, the topic today is on the relevance of workplace counseling, or counseling in the workplace. And of course, you all agree with me that for our side of the world, or our side of the globe, that workplace mental health has become somewhat important, or it has come to the fore after the pandemic. Of course, coming from all the plethora of issues that the pandemic came with, from isolation, from people being in situations where they're not able to move around as they would love to, or able to communicate and be with loved ones. It came with a lot of pressure, and there were a lot of stressors that were contributing to this. And so from the World Health Statistics, the fastest growing ailment is associated with mental health. And of course, depression leads the pack. But of course, we're not going to be talking only about depression today, but we're going to talk about mental wellness, an entire thing that surrounds it. And we all know that in the workplace, we have people will come from different backgrounds, people with different ideologies, with worldviews, and everyone coming together within the workplace and all trying to align themselves with the values of the organization. And so that comes in itself with a lot of pressure. And so today, our facilitator will be taking us through the importance and the relevance of workplace counseling. Our facilitator today will be Folake Ogumekon, and she is the co-founder and the managing director of Streetset Services Limited, a human resource and business consulting firm. She is responsible for the company's overall strategic direction and management and leads the Streetset Employee Assistance Program, popularly called SIP, which provides support for staff of clients' organizations on issues that could impact their mental health, emotional well-being, and productivity. She is a certified professional counselor and therapist with over 10 years experience working with individuals, employees, and families on issues related to anxiety, depression, stress, trauma, bereavement, and loss, behavioral issues, career counseling, exit supporting, or counseling. Folake holds a master's degree in advanced counseling and psychotherapy from the University of Salford, United Kingdom, an MBA specializing in finance from the University of Lagos, and a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Ibadan. She is a member of the Employee Assistance Professionals Association of Nigeria, EAPA, registered member of the British Association for Counseling and Psychotherapy, BACP, a chartered mediator and conciliator with the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators, ICMN, and a full member of the African Network of Professional Counselors, and NEPCO. Folake is a full member of the Nigerian Institute of Management. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Folake Ogumekon. So, Folake Ogumekon, you have the floor.
Morning, everybody. Thank you, Perita. I was wondering if that was me you were talking about. Thank you so much. I can see very familiar faces. If you can just drop in the chat box where we're all joining in from, that'd be nice. So where are we joining in from this morning? London. Wow, that's nice. Yeah, keep it coming. Where are we joining in from this morning? Lagos, Nigeria. Awesome. Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos, Nigeria. Wow, wow. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone. And thank you for joining us. Let me ask us a question. When we talk about wellness in the workplace, what comes to mind? Let's also put that in the chat box quickly. What comes to mind when we talk about wellness in the workplace? What do you think that is all about? Watching out for responses. When we talk about wellness in the workplace, what comes to mind? Healthy environment. Thank you, Zainab. Yes, who else? You're very correct. Healthy environment. What comes to mind when we talk about wellness in the workplace? Healthy managers. Good. Yeah. Keep it coming. Mental sound staff, non-toxic environment. Awesome, awesome, awesome. A conducive working environment. Brilliant. I mean, what this tells us is that, the workplace of today is about total well-being, total wellness. So it doesn't really have to do with, physical wellness alone. It's about physical wellness, emotional wellness, and mental wellness. And yeah, so because it's not obvious that people suffer from mental or emotional issues, we tend to ignore or overlook, maybe not that, maybe I'll say not recognizing, the symptoms that these people present and being able to relate it to a particular root cause because it's not physical. But really and truly, many of us go through mental and emotional issues in workplace that affect us, personally affect our work productivity, and ultimately the business. Research has shown that 95% of physical unwellness or ailments such as BP, IBP, diabetes, and even cancer, stroke, it starts from the mind, the emotions, So you see that mental wellness is very important to us in the workplace. I'll just start to share my slide now. Can we see the slides? Can we see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Right, so the learning outcome for today, we're going to be, we're going to try to understand the importance of counseling in addressing personal and workplace challenges. We're going to try and recognize the signs that employees need counseling services. Also, what employers should know and do about workplace counseling. We're also going to be looking at the effect of lack of counseling on employees and the impact on the businesses, because they actually do impact businesses. And also, we're going to be looking at the advantages of incorporating counseling services into the workplace and the benefits to the employees. Now, what is counseling in the workplace? Who's going to try to tell me that? What do we understand by counseling in the workplace? What do you think it is about? Is it about just sitting with HR or sitting with your manager or talking with your colleague? What exactly do you think is counseling in the workplace? Anyone wants to try? Mentoring, good, correct. It's a form of counseling. Who else wants to try coaching? Who else wants to give it a go? What do we understand by counseling in the workplace? Seeking professional help, effective communication. Okay, you're all very correct. I'll just tell us what research says about counseling. NAVRE 2008 says counseling in the workplace refers to a confidential process where employees of an organization receive brief psychological therapy and support from certified professional counselors or therapists to address personal or work-related challenges. So you see, I've underlined some words: confidential. The process has to be confidential. It's short-term, it's psychological in nature. And so that's why we need to seek the support of certified or qualified professionals. And also it addresses both personal and work-related issues. So it's not only about work. A lot of us can, bring baggages into our work that affects our work. And then the primary goal of workplace counseling is to improve, our mental and emotional well-being. It is also designed to address a wide range of personal and work-related issues that may affect our job performance, job satisfaction, and overall quality of life. And what are the key aspects that we're looking at here? We're talking about confidentiality, emotional support, conflict resolution, career development, stress management. All of these have to do with being in the workplace. It has to do with our career, work-life balance, performance improvements, mental health support, crisis intervention, and of course, education and training. Now, what are the signs that employees need counseling? Let me start by sharing a story. Now, I have a friend whose colleague, for anonymity's sake, I'll call him Peter, was a high flyer in the office. He was loved by everybody. He was a go-to person in terms of for any IT issues. He had all the answers. As expected, he rose to the top of the organization. He built wealth. He had a lovely family, as they all thought, and unfortunately, everybody came to work one day and was told that they had died by suicide. You can imagine the shock, and the question on everybody's lips was that, how come we didn't know? I mean, what was going on with him? How come nobody, picked this? Unknowingly he had relationship issues. He was estranged with his wife and children, and I understand that they had actually tried to kill the wife, and then she ran away with the children. And following that, he killed himself. He didn't have he was going through depression, nobody to talk to, no access to counseling. On the flip side, there's another story of another friend. This person I know, let's call him Paul for anonymity, who was a value team member as well. The value team member, very creative and dedicated to his work, very cheerful, very lively, was everybody's friend at work. However, beneath that cheerful exterior was silently battling a deep sense of despair, was battling depression. I had a lot of personal problems, financial difficulties, relationship problems in his family as well. Over time, his mental health was deteriorating, and he started thinking about taking his own life. Meanwhile, he kept this from everybody, kept this from his colleague, even his seemingly best friend, he kept it and all of that. And he was trapped in this dark, isolated place all by himself, and fortunately for him, his boss noticed. His boss, knew a bit about, mental health and all of that. And, he saw some signs. His behavior was changing, was losing concentration, was missing deadlines, making mistakes, and asked him what the problem was. He didn't say anything initially, but, based on the knowledge that the boss had, she impressed on him to talk, and he opened up to her and said he was actually having suicide ideation because of all the problems he was going through and all of that. And thankfully, they had a counseling support service in their office, and he was immediately referred to a therapist in the office, and he started going through counseling. After several periods, of course, being in that safe space of being able to express himself, his feelings, and being able to explore the root cause of this despair. The therapist or the counselor was able to, help him develop coping strategies and improve his emotional and mental well-being. He brought his family into therapy as well, and now he's alive. His family is well. He's doing well in his business, and his motivation is increased. Productivity at work is increased, and all of that. Of course, you can relate that to the bottom line on the organization. So you can see the two people. One had access to counseling, the other didn't have access to counseling. Unfortunately, the one who didn't have access to counseling is no more. So what are the signs to look out for when we need counseling? Like I said in the stories, lack of focus, loss of concentration, increased absenteeism, tiredness when you're missing deadlines, you're slow in your delivery time, declining job performances, changes in behavior and attitudes. A lot of times, employers or managers tend to not recognize this. They just feel that the staff is not doing well, and they start to become hard on the person. The person may be going through some underlying issues that only a certified counselor or therapist can deal with. Neglect of self-care, person who used to look really sharp and nice is not looking very scruffy. So a lady used to wear makeup and look nice, now looking really unkempt. Those are signs. Increased stress and anxiety, conflicts with colleagues, always fighting. Everybody's always fighting you. So there's an issue. There's an underlying issue. Why are you fighting everybody? Why are you not accessible to people? And then, of course, we have the physical, because these emotional issues also present in our bodies. Headaches, fatigues, pains, chest pain, palpitations, and things like that. So now, why don't employees talk, or why employees don't talk? Like I said in the first story, the reason why Paul is alive today is because he was able to speak with his boss. But that was because the boss impressed on him to speak. Assuming, the boss didn't have that mental health awareness, he probably would have ended up like Peter. So employees really are going through issues, but they don't talk. And why don't they talk? So these are some of the reasons. Fear of stigmatization. There's usually this, employees give subtle hints, about their mental and emotional health, which we should really be aware of. There's harassment, they fear harassment and discrimination, they fear career stagnation. If I talk about my situation, it's going to affect my growth in the organization. My boss, my employment might be terminated. Some may fear loss of disclosure of information, which is true, because we're talking about confidentiality here. I mean, if you don't understand that this is a very important ethical issues in counseling or therapy, somebody may come to you and you're talking about the issue with some other person. So these are some of the reasons why employees don't talk. So let me ask again, what are the signs that you know? Maybe you've experienced, or you know somebody have experienced in the workplace. What are some of the signs that you think may cause maybe employees may be needing counseling for? We want to drop it in the chat box. It's also important to know that recognizing the signs early, it's really important. It's crucial. Timely intervention is very important, because there's like they said, there's a thin line between life and death, and somebody who is extremely depressed can end up, killing himself. So do we have any understanding of signs to look out for again? Maybe we've experienced signs. Let's be open to talk, so that we can share with other people. Maybe you've also been experiencing some signs that you can't even explain, and you think this may be a sign that I need to see a counselor. Okay, non-productivity, sudden lateness to work, that may be a sign. Thank you for sharing, Soki. Who else wants to share? Who else wants to share signs that you may be needing counseling support? Thank you for sharing. Okay. So what employers should know and do in addressing these issues? We've talked about the fact that, employees don't want to talk. We've talked about all the signs that they present. We've talked about the need for them to be able to trust people and be able to share the signs with them. We've talked about the issue related to stigmatization, and not being able to stop because of that. So now, what should employers know or do? Okay, so let me share a story before we go on. I can see some other comments: lack of interest, missing deadlines, moody. Thank you for sharing that, Samuel and Chinelo. Okay, so let me share another story. Let me call this lady Mary for anonymity's sake as well. She's a salesperson. She's the most effective salesperson in the organization. She's very, very good at closing deals, and so based on that, she got a promotion at work. Mary is very good at closing deals one-on-one, but when it comes to making presentation, going to clients, she starts to have panic attacks, serious anxiety. Why? And because of her new role, this is something she needs to be able to do, and it started affecting her performance. Somebody who used to be a high flyer now started dropping in performance. It started affecting her self-esteem as well. And thankfully for her, the supervisor also noticed the drop. You are a high flyer. You closed all the major deals in the office. How come you're not able to do this? Eventually she confided that this is the reason why she's not able to do this, and she was referred to a counselor. And following the ongoing support with the counselor, she gradually gained her confidence. She was able to overcome the fear of public speaking. She traced it to her childhood. She traced it to her childhood in the process of therapy. And after dealing with all of those issues, she started excelling in her career, and of course brought in larger contracts, and that also boosted her career more. So it shows that these things are really important. So what do we need to do as employers? First of all, we need to think about being compassionate in our management and our leadership. Compassionate and management. When I mean being compassionate in our management and leadership, what do I mean? I'm talking about actively listening to your people, showing empathy, open communication, recognizing your people, appreciating them, that's important. Having flexible work arrangement, actually in the world that we are now, in the world that we have now, having hybrid work system, or people work from home once in a while to help them achieve work balance situation in their lives. Also ensuring growth prospects, helping them to resolve conflict effectively, leading by example, and generally, supporting their well-being. So it's very, very important that we're compassionate in our leadership styles and our management style. And then talking about legal and ethical aspects of this. There's a moral and legal obligation to support our employees' mental health and well-being. The question is, what are the relevant, laws and regulations required of us as employers to provide a safe and healthy work environment for our people, depending on the location, depending on where we're logging in from, whether from the US or from the UK or from Nigeria, as an employer, what does the labor law says, about health and wellness of our employees? So this is something we need to think about, we need to focus on, because there's a legal and moral and ethical consideration with respect to this. In some countries, they may not emphasize on the mental issue, but it's still, classified under under wellness of our people. So we need to understand, while in some climes, that is, the mental wellness is emphasized, and it is important that this support is provided to the employees when they're needed. And then we need to think about steps of implementing counseling programs or support in our workplace. First of all, hiring professional counselors. That, again, there may be a bit of disadvantage in that, because employees, like I said, most people don't want to talk. And when they start going into a counselor's office every now and then, or the counselor will be like, this person has issues, or person has, and they probably be relating it to some of the symptoms the person is presenting. But that's a possibility. And you can think of engaging the service of workplace counselors or EAP consultants, whereby your people can go to their offices or their practices to see them, to be able to manage their well-being, their mental and emotional well-being. And then creating a supportive environment. When I mean creating a supportive environment, what do I mean by that? That's is a place where the employers feel comfortable seeking help and not feeling stigmatized. I've been emphasizing the word stigma, because this is a real issue, in the workplace. In some cultures, it is assumed that saying a therapist or counselor or psychiatrist, you're mentally derailed, but that's totally untrue. Anxiety, trauma, depression are all mental health issues, which many of us have, gone through at some point in our lives. Some may be just more serious than the others. For instance, COVID. I'm almost certain that everybody in this room suffered at least anxiety during COVID period. I personally landed at the cardiologist, when I started feeling numbness on one side of my body when I came back from work. And, I thought I had, I had heart issues, I saw the cardiologist, and it was like, after going through all the tests, it was like, madam, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your heart. Worry less, or go and see a therapist. I was like, this is a case of a therapist, counsel thyself. I had to go and see a therapist for me to, for all the symptoms, for me to get over all the symptoms. After several weeks of seeing the therapist, I got better. And of course, all the symptoms, that's history now, all the symptoms disappeared. So you can imagine, the importance of creating that environment for our people. And then confidentiality and trust, the importance of confidentiality can be overemphasized, and that includes building trust with our counselors, creating the enabling environment, creating a safe space for our people. And then accessibility of counseling service. Counseling does not have to be physical. It doesn't have to be too physical. After COVID, we now know that we can do so many things without being present physically. So our people can actually access counseling through virtual means, either telephone or video calls. Now, what are the effects of not providing counseling? I can say that, a happy person produces better results, or better outcomes in an organization. A happy person delivers more. We don't want to have a crop of demotivated, unhappy people who are dealing with so many issues from their homes. It could be loss of relationship, it could be betrayal, it could be bereavement, maybe they're grieving, it could be abuse. Some people may be going through sexual abuse or harassment in the workplace. It could be addiction. It can be anything. It can be depression. So this impacts the employee productivity. And if all of these issues are not treated, definitely it will affect their performance and productivity. We have the case of trauma. People go through trauma for whatever reasons. Some people may be even going through domestic abuse in their homes, and we don't know. They won't come to share with us in the office, and it's affecting their performance. I have a friend who went through postpartum depression after she had a baby. She started going through consistent feeling of sadness, hopelessness. She lost interest in everything, and she actually felt like giving up her child for adoption because she didn't have this feeling before she had the baby. So of course she had to start seeing a counselor before she got better, and she she was able to manage herself and her work better. So the effect on the employee productivity is key. And then of course there's a positive relationship or correlation between people's mental health and their job performance, like we had said, better. So the healthier they are emotionally, mentally, the better they perform in the workplace. And then, of course, the business performance is key. There's a huge impact, on our business success, overall business success, if we have an unhealthy workforce. And a study by the American Psychological Association, 2021, found that workplace with high stress and inadequate mental health support have 50% more employee absenteeism, leading to higher healthcare costs for businesses. And then the 2021 Gallup State of Global Workplace Report also found that, only 15% of employees are actively engaged in their work, while approximately 85% are neither not engaged or actively disengaged. And this was also traced to their mental or emotional well-being. So you can see the effect is really enormous. Now, why should employees seek counseling help? Why should employees seek counseling help? There are a lot of advantages to the employee. There's improved mental health, which leads to a happier and more fulfilling life. They're able to, manage their relationships better, both at work, at home, conflict resolution, with greater confidence, able to deal with fear, imposter syndrome, self-doubt or self-esteem issue. They're able to manage their stress better or burnout with enhanced work-life balance and flexibility in the workplace. With increased job satisfaction, they can boost the overall career success. And then they're able to manage workplace challenges better when they manage their stress better. And then, of course, regain emotional balance. So let me ask us again, is anyone in the class willing to share, what benefit they've been through counseling sessions and what benefits they've enjoyed from that? Is anybody willing to share? Maybe you've been through a counseling session at some point in time as an employee or even as an employer. And what benefits did you enjoy from that session? I can see some messages here. Lack of, okay, being overly aggressive, that's a sign, yeah. So who wants to share some of the benefits you've had going through counseling session? Let's be open so we can learn from each other, and then it can also help other people to be open when they're dealing with these issues. So we move on to the benefits for employers. So it's not only the employees that benefit from counseling. I think the employers even benefit more because without the employees, we won't achieve our goal as our organization. So it's important to have a healthy, productive workforce. With increased productivity, employees with good mental health are more engaged, they're proactive, they're productive, they are innovative, and they contribute positively to the company's performance. They're able to communicate better. They're able to work in a conducive environment, and then we have positive workplace culture for both the employees and the employer. With that, the counseling program contributes to a positive workplace culture by demonstrating that the organization really care about the people and about their wellness in total. And then we have reduced turnover and retention rates we have more people in the office. They don't, a high retention rate, low turnover rates, and of course, based on that, we spend less money recruiting and training people because we have a people in place. And then talking about the better overall business performance, of course, it would affect our bottom line when we have a crop of high flyers in organizations who are performing well, and that strengthens our corporate brand. Thank you. Somebody shared that she experienced confidence boost having gone through counseling. Thank you for sharing that. So key points, we're about rounding up now. So key points, we've said so much. First of all, counseling provides mental health support. So it's important for both employees to seek counseling and for the employers to provide that support to the employee. So counseling provides essential mental health support for us, helping the employee to manage their stress, anxiety, and depression, and other psychological issues. It also leads to improved productivity, by addressing the personal and work-related issues. It can enhance them, it can help you focus better, increase motivation, and overall job performance. And then, of course, managing relationship. Counseling offers a constructive platform for, conflict to be resolved, thereby improving relationship in the workplace and also leading to a more harmonious work environment. In terms of stress management, it equips us with stress management techniques, helps us to reduce burnouts, reduces absenteeism while increasing resilience in us. And then it contributes to the well-being by fostering self-awareness in us. We're more emotionally intelligent. We as employers are more emotionally intelligent. We're more able to identify these symptoms in our people and help them to get help as soon as possible. And of course, create a work-life balance. I've talked about reducing the turnover. When organizations offer counseling support, they experience low staff turnover and saves money on recruitment and training. And then, of course, the positive workplace culture is there, creating a positive and caring environment, knowing that our people do not have to suffer. You're practically concerned about the total well-being of the people, not so much of our bottom line or our business performance, but also that those people are well, in all aspects of their life. We talk about the legal and ethical responsibility as well. And then, of course, the increased job satisfaction for people and improving our communication skills by people being able to express their needs and their concerns without fearing stigma or without fearing harassment or discrimination. What are the key takeaways from all that we've been saying? So first of all, we need to recognize the signs. That's important. That was the difference between Peter and Paul, the story I shared earlier. Paul's boss recognized the sign and was able to, save his life, while Peter, didn't have that. Mary also, the salesperson, the boss was able to recognize the signs. So it's really, really important that we're able to recognize the signs. And we have said these signs include lateness to work, absenteeism, declining in performance, especially for those who are high performance or high flyers. And then, of course, our responsibility as employers, we've talked about that. We've talked about the need to implement this counseling program or have a support or some sort of service in place, engage, therapists or EAP practitioners to help us in this area, because we may not have the skills in our workplace. I understand that some employers have counseling skills, like in our organizations, we have professional counselors and therapists in our organizations, but I understand that a lot of organizations don't have this set of people. So if we don't, let's not deny that fact. Let's just engage the right people to support our employees. And then we talk about the impact of neglect, the impact on the people, the impact on the business, decreased productivity, poor job performance, and of course, it will ultimately harm the business performance, which we do not want. And then we talked about the employee benefits, work-life balance, job satisfaction, stress management. I mean, we all go through stress. The world that we are, no matter where we are in the world, everybody's going through one form of stress or the other. So there's need to sometimes check in with cancer. It's almost like going for medical checkups. You know, we have regular medical checkups, comprehensive medical checkup. But when it comes to counseling or therapy, we think it's only those that have, you know, some people say they're sick upstairs or they're derailed. No, that's not it. Sometimes you need to just onboarding, you need to talk. And once you go through that 1 hour session, sometimes 30 minutes, 45-minute session, you're good to go for the next few months, you know, and you know, you're happy at home, you're happy at work. So it's important. We talk about stigma reduction, that helps, and then the legal consideration, promoting open communication within the workspace is very, very important. It supports our people. And of course, taking action, taking knowledge from what we've gained from this session today and applying it to our workplace to create a healthier workplace, a more productive workplace, a more supportive work environment for our people. And then also, let me reiterate that it's important to deal with these issues promptly, because there's a thin line between it moving from a very minor stage to an extreme stage, and then it can be a thin line between life and death. So taking action promptly is also very important. Call to action now. So I'm charging us as employers, we need to take proactive steps in implementing counseling services or programs in our workplace. And to the employees, please seek help. We don't have to suffer in silence. Seek help. I mean, we've had stories of people, you know, being checked into mental institution, people committing suicide, people not being able to perform well in the office, people that have lost, you know, relationship because of mental health issues. We don't have to, you know, let us get to that stage. So the moment you start seeing this sign, you may not even know that it's, you know, it has to do with some emotional issues, but these signs are there. Please seek help, and the counselors or the therapists would help you. And then use available resources. Even if you don't have the support in your office, once you're having those symptoms or those signs, please seek help, and you'll be all right. So we've come to the end of today's session. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening, and thank you for staying to the end. We have 65 people. Thank you so much for staying to the end. I'll just hand over to Perita to take us through the next stage. Thank you so much. I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you so much, Folake, for this very insightful session that you've taken us through. Indeed, the mental health is a responsibility of both employees and employers. And then we also have seen, even from your session, that the rule of thumb is to act quickly and promptly. Do not downplay the warning signs that impact your mental health. Be vulnerable to share, because I know that sometimes in our environments, we see vulnerability as weakness, but we should be vulnerable to share and to seek the help that we need on time. As well as a healthy, productive workforce leads to overall business performance. Our mental health is important as our physical medical checkup. So before we begin to get into the next session, which will be our final, we'll just take us through the Reset Employee Assistance Program. And as I take you through this, I would like for us to drop our questions, if we have questions, in the chat box, and we'll attend to them right after this session. So in today's fast-paced world, workplace stress is common due to factors like heavy workloads, ever increasing and demanding deadlines. This stress can harm productivity, as we have also seen in the presentation, and that leads to more absences and strained relationships between colleagues. The Street Employee Assistance Program offers counseling services to help employees address personal and professional challenges, fostering motivation and productivity for companies. And our services covers counseling support, under which we have the personal difficulties. We're going through personal difficulties, job occupational stress, emotional distress, mental health, depression, balancing work and family, harassment, financial and non-work related legal concerns, separation and loss, retirement or layoff assistance, disciplinary counseling, and group therapy. Under our conflict resolution, we have the work relationship issues, as well as the family and personal relationship issues. Also, critical incidents issues are also under our conflict resolution offer. And then the other supports we also render under our EAP is a stress management, anger management, career transition, and supervisor workshop. So those are our services that we offer under our StreetSet Employee Assistance Program. And of course, our modeling, our counseling methods, the methods we deploy are face-to-face counseling, telephone counseling. We're very open to that, and online counseling. Of course, the era we're in, technology. So we're open to online counseling. And you can also talk to any members of our team by sending us an email at sit@streetsetservices.com. And that will also be posted on the chat box, and you can pick it up from there as well. So we'll go into the questions. If we have any questions, please let's drop it in the chat box and we will read them out. Okay, I'm just going through the, okay. There's some expressions here. Many thanks for this insightful session, brief and enlightening. So if we have questions, I also have some questions here, which I would present to our facilitator. The first question I have here is, can you provide more examples of signs that employees might need counseling in the workplace? Provide more examples. I know you provided some, so can you provide more examples?
Thank you for that question. So another example, besides all that we've spoken about before, could be withdrawal. You know, you're seeing your people, your staff or your colleague withdrawing, and somebody who is typically very lively, and all of a sudden is withdrawn. That's a huge sign. And some people may think, oh, maybe she just wants to be by herself, or just wants to. So when you notice that consistently, then you know there's a problem. Another sign could be irritability. You know, some person getting very irritable, you know, at every point, always getting irritable, you know, then you know that this person probably, you know, has some emotional issues that needs to be dealt with. Lack of concentration, you know, regular or consistently making mistakes or making errors. I'm like, you're like, why do you have to keep making mistakes all the time? Are you okay? Is everything okay with you? You know, so if you know so much about cancer, there's a way you can talk to the staff or to the employee to make them vulnerable and calm down and be able to share the issues that they're dealing with. But the thing is that you notice the signs and watch it, you know, consistently for a period of time, and then approach them if they're not talking, because most often than not, they won't say anything.
I thank you very much, Bolake, for that. I also have another question here, and it's in the chat box from Chinelo. She says, can an HR personnel serve as a counselor or therapist in an organization?
Oh, most certainly, provided that the person is qualified and certified, you know, the qualified and certified professional counselor. Anything short of that will just be providing what we call employee counseling. You know, you're just, you know, giving advice, talking to the staff, you know, sharing your point of view and giving advice based on your knowledge of the issues they're going through and all of that as you think they're going through, but if you're not certified, you may not be able to address the root cause of the problem. You just be providing advice and yeah, that's it. So if the HR person is certified and qualified, most definitely will be able to provide that support to the staff. The only other thing to consider, the only other issue to consider is the issue of the safe space within the workspace, because also depends on the culture of the organization. The HR manager can be certified, maybe qualified, but if the culture of the organization does not permit or allow her as a professional to perform that role, and then it may be counterproductive. But with that knowledge, she could, find a way to reach out to the staff and meet that need. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
I hope so, Chinelo. Okay, then. There's also another question from Mr. Samuel Ajari. And the question is, can toxic work environments and bad managers also contribute to poor mental health? What is your recommendation?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. I mean, we've talked about creating the right environment. Really, toxicity in the workplace starts from the top. It's a culture of the organization. It can only be dealt with from the top. So if the managers and the leaders are toxic, then definitely there's nothing that can be done about it. So is that the staff? It's going to be the decision of the staff, because they say culture eats behavior for breakfast. So culture is very, very important. If the culture of the organization is toxic, then the managers, like you said, bad managers, then that has to be that has to be addressed, because there's not much the staff can do except that is addressed, except the board or the top management the listening type. We've talked about being compassionate in management and leadership styles. So you see that that's really important. So if the environment is toxic, it can actually contribute to the mental health or emotional unwellness of the people. So it's dealing with the culture. So even if you have somebody, maybe a manager or a line manager who is harsh or toxic, provided the culture of the organization does not permit that, then that manager will be that issue would be dealt with, and that manager will change. So it's either the manager changes or the manager leaves the organization, because that behavior would not fit into the culture of the organization. But if the culture of the organization permits that behavior, then there's so much that can happen. So it's either the staff leaves or continue to endure. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, thank you very much for that. There's also a question I think is also closely related to what you've just expressed from Sheyi Fumi Adeyemo, who says, how do you deal with a toxic work environment where everyone then knows your mental status? So that this is from the point of the employee who is going through mental challenges.
Yeah. So when you say that everyone knows your mental health status, that means the confidentiality requirement has been breached. So with that kind of situation, it will be very difficult for the person to continue to open up in that particular environment. So if for us employers, if we are in a situation like this, it is important for us to create awareness for our people, so to know that it's not a death sentence to have mental health issues. And like I said, we all have mental health issues at all. It's just that it's at different levels. How many of us here can say that we have not experienced anxiety before? So or trauma. Trauma is at different levels. Anxiety is at different levels. So creating awareness is very important. So sometimes you can have, wellness talk within the organizations. You can have, you can bring in experts to come and talk to your people people so that they know that, okay, these are real issues and people can be vulnerable and there can be open communications within the organization, and then emphasize the importance of confidentiality. And for this person, suffering in this organization where people already know your mental health status, I'm sure you'll be very uncomfortable. I would say seek help, outside for now, because it's all about your health. You're the ones, experiencing this issue. You're the ones suffering. So seek help, from professionals outside the organization. And the important thing is for you to be better and be able to improve your relationship, improve your performance at work. I hope I've been able to address that question.
I believe so. Thank you very much. I believe, well, time is fast spent, but I think I will just give a chance to anyone who wants to speak. Maybe you can use the raise hand icon, and then we will unmute your mic, and you can ask your question, or you can make maybe your comments. If you want to give a comment, we'll just give a room for that, for one person, if there's anyone. But in the meantime, I see some comments in the chat box.
Thank you, Soki,
culture
and
is strategy for breakfast, for those who love breakfast, and culture is strategy for lunch, for those who like to skip breakfast and go to lunch. So it does. Nice one. Thank you. Okay. I don't see any hand. So in conclusion, I think I'll just take this last question. And the question is, can you provide tips for employees on how to initiate a conversation with their employers about the need for counseling resources in their workplace?
Oh yeah, definitely. So like I said earlier, it's important for us to talk, for us to be vulnerable, and it's important for the employer to create that safe space for us to talk. So one of the things is just being straightforward about it in a respectful manner. Just approaching your line manager or a manager, a senior person in the organization, and sharing your thoughts with this person, a decision maker, that this is an important thing in the organization that should be done. And you could start by expressing your concerns about your well-being and job performance, to your line manager or to your HR manager. Actually, if you're a high performer in your organization and you're able to share that what you're experiencing, is affecting your performance, I'm sure if you're a high performer, nobody will want, no employer will want to lose a high performer or a high flyer within an organization. So you can start by, with that. And also you're making an inquiry about existing counseling services. Either if it's in a big organization, there may be these services and you don't know, so you could make an inquiry about that. Or you could also make an inquiry about your organization employing the services of a counselor or a therapist or EAP practitioners, and the possibility of implementing this in the organization. It's essential it is very, very important to express these concerns and convey our goals for us to be more productive in the workplace and for us to have engaged employee. So it's just talking about it in a respectful manner, sharing your concerns, being vulnerable about it. Thank you, Berita.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Funake, for that answer. I believe Mr. Jari, I think your hand was up. I don't know if you still want to speak.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
you have any comments? I'm sure we can unmute. Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Folake and Perita. Very insightful and a lot of learnings and takeaways from there. My question is for HR practitioners who wants to get certified as a coach. What is the route? What is the minimum requirement you have to be? Or can just an entry-level HR person just venture into it? Or you have to have some experience first before you can say you want to be a coach? Thank you.
I guess you mean counseling, because we're talking about counseling
Yes,
and
counseling.
therapy.
Yes,
Yeah,
counseling. Yes, sorry.
yeah, because coaching is a different thing entirely.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you for the question, Samuel. Yeah, counseling and therapy or psychotherapy is usually an advanced profession. So you find that people that are certified are people that already have a first degree, at least but the basic thing is first degree. So for you to be a certified counselor or certified therapist, you must have a first degree, really. Even if you read counseling in school, so it's like it's most often like a second career, because I think the maturity is also important here. So if you want more information on that, you can contact Perita or myself, or contact the office, and we'll give you more information with respect to that. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Samuel.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. I'm just doing a quick check. I don't see any more questions. I think we'll bring this webinar to a close. And I'd like to thank everyone for staying the course with us on this session. And we'd like to thank you for your time, because I know taking our time to come to attend any program these days can be is a lot demanding. And so we'd like to thank you all so much for making our time. And it's our hope that this webinar has been very insightful, and it would also be the start of so many good things to come in terms of counseling in the workplace. And please don't forget and don't hesitate to reach out to us. Details are on the chat box. You can contact us at sip@streetsetservices.com. sip@streetsetservices.com. So we're looking forward to hearing from you, and do have a lovely day and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all for attending.